Oh, you had asked me about...
Because like I always heard that if you did row rules,
bar crawls.
you could go and get money to do shit.
You could. So here's what they had for a little while, and I'll tell you this story. So, and I told this on Nick Youssef's podcast, and I didn't realize it was it was interesting. But so they had this thing called the bar crawl where they would take kids from these reality shows and put them onto a bus and take them around the country on a tour bus, a nice bus.
Yeah.
And you would literally show up at a bar. They'd pay you $500 cash a night. You would guest bartend or whatever you wanted to do. You were hooking up with chicks, whatever, bringing them back on the bus, fucking whatever, you know. And then literally at about 3 a.m., you'd pass out on the bus, and the bus would drive 7 hours to the next city, and you would wake up in another city and do it again that night for $500 cash. Same shit show, right? So on this one bus, they always had to have a driver of the bus, right? And this one bus got this kid out of Kentucky who was 23 years old, looked like he was 40 years old, right?
Yeah.
And I remember sitting up, because I'd sit up by the bus driver and talk to him a little bit, you know? And I remember this kid being like, dude, I don't need to sleep, right? That's what he told me. And now normally a regular person who's not an instigator like myself would go and tell everyone else we have a driver who doesn't like to sleep at all, and I don't think it's safe. But me, I'm like, fuck no you don't, dude. Fuck no, you don't need to sleep. And anybody who
I'll
says
match your craziness with understanding.
And anybody who says you are, and I had to find a word that would really fuel him being from Kentucky. Anybody who says you do is probably a queer. Right?
Yeah.
I told him, and he's like, "You're right." Right. So next thing you know, this dude's been up for 2 days. Right. And he's told me every story. Like he has a fat girlfriend somewhere and he has a skinny girlfriend somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Which are most of his stories. But they also had on this tour bus, they had this other group that they'd brought on to help subsidize some of the costs of the travel. Was this new energy drink that had come out called Hair of the Dog, right? It was called Hair of the Dog, and you drank it before you went to bed, and you wouldn't be hungover. And to push Hair...
Did it work? Did it work?
I have no idea. I don't think any of them have ever worked, dude. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The rule is drink a glass of water and don't jerk off, and you'll feel way better in the morning, right? So, but anyway, to push Hair of the Dog, they'd brought on this older couple who were in their 40s to do karaoke at a neighboring bar that was a little more chill than the bar we were partying at. So you had this older couple on the bus, right? And they were like older. They had like kids, and they were like, and so we're bringing chicks on and banging in the middle of the night, and like everybody's raging. Nothing too insane, but you know, anything you do on a tour bus. And then you had these older people sleeping in the bunks trying to relax, right?
And you guys were just fucking.
So I mean, I remember like,
who's on the bus with you? Is it like you?
Oh, it was some hard heads on there. Like this kid Abram.
I remember Abraham.
He's the nuttiest.
He's a fucking lunatic,
He's
man.
nutty, bro.
He's a fucking
He's
lunatic.
a soldier.
Tanya had to be on it.
Tanya was on there at some point.
I fucking
I'm sure. I'm sure. The funny thing is, I wouldn't talk about this on any other podcast with anybody.
Yeah.
I don't ever talk about this.
I would
only talk about it with you because I know that you're a fan of it.
Yeah.
And you were a fan of it. I remember it's the first thing you ever said to me.
Yeah.
You know?
It was my favorite show.
But you weren't like a negative fan of it. You were like,
I wasn't even remotely negative, dude.
Yeah.
I fucking one of my favorite people ever. I know we've talked about him, so I'll just leave it at that. Is CT?
Oh.
That guy's fucking fascinating. I still to this day find it.
Literally, that was me spitting my coffee up. Fascinating's a good word. That's another reason why I quit going on the show. Is like this dude was knocking out whoever else was on the show. I'm like, I'm not ruining my life by getting knocked out by this freaking hypothalamic gland that's over.
I'd totally get punched by him if I ran into him, because I'd be like, "Oh fuck, CT!" And he'd be like, "Bam!"
Yeah. So I don't even know him, but I just couldn't deal. I couldn't deal with that. So anyway, we're on this bus, right?
Yeah.
And the big rule, this young kid's rule was, who wasn't sleeping, was no shitting on this bus, right? And the first day I was like, guys, don't use the restroom. But after about 40 hours of no sleep, he's like, I dare somebody to shit on this motherfucker, right? So literally we're on like day 3 on one of these tours, and we're somewhere, and it's fucking 11 o'clock at night, right?
Yeah.
And I tell this dude, bro, Miss Margaret, who is the older karaoke woman.
Miss Margaret, yeah.
Just shit in the shitter, right? And this dude has not slept, bro. He's doing it all, no-nos, whatever, driving a fucking $500,000 bus, right, with 7 human beings living in it, and whatever girl who was banged and is still asleep in one of these, pods, and who's going to wake up in White Plains, New York, and have 2 options. 1, take a Greyhound home, or 2, be our merch girl.
Be our merch girl.
Which really was nothing because there was no merch.
Be our merch girl.
So next thing you know, this lady comes out of the bathroom. She'd probably just urinated or put on some extra lipstick, right? But I'm like, dude, Miss Margaret just took a shit in there, right? So this dude fucking pulls the bus over on the interstate, has lost his mind, jumps out of his seat, jumps on Miss Margaret, right?
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah. Starts literally choking this lady out on the floor, bro. I'm not joking. Miss Margaret's partner, Mr. Dan, right, who was the male karaoke guy, literally cannot bend over to help because he had a bad back, right? He had best posture I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I also think he had a rod in his back, or maybe 2 rods.
Yeah.
But could not bend down to help, so he was just like yelling. I'm like, should I get somebody to help? Should I not get somebody to help, bro? This is hella fucking exciting, right?
Yeah.
It's midnight, and there's the skinniest guy ever who hasn't slept in 2.5 days choking out an adult woman who's selling hangover beverages and doing karaoke. I am dying.
She's like, help! I need somebody! Help!
And I'm like, where do I sign up for Riders on the Storm, right? Can we do that song next? So finally, Abram comes from the back, right?
Fucking
and he's like, oh, this is good. He's fucking shoving corn nuts into his mouth, bro. He always had corn nuts. Literally throwing them, and he's like, oh, this is good. Fast forward anyway, a half hour when the cops show up and everything, they're going to kick the driver out. They got to get rid of this kid. It's not safe, apparently.
Yeah.
So they're like, drive to the next stop, and we're going to get a new driver in. So we get to the next stop, which was Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and my buddy Tim Beggy actually lived there.
I know
and
Tim.
He was on Road Rules. He was a Road Rules guy, and he had some shows on the Travel Channel for a while.
Did he really?
Yeah, great host.
Wait, how do I know Tim?
He had a show called Guts and Bolts or Nuts and Bolts. It was on the Travel Channel for a while, or on the History Channel, actually. And he did very funny. He worked for Shark Tank for a long time. He did another kids show.
He was the first guy that I thought, the first guy that was like, he's probably the first generation of the guys that was like, fuck this, I'm not going back to work. I'm going to be in television.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he succeeded.
Yeah, he's very talented.
Yeah, talented dude, successful, good buddy of mine.
I met him. I want to say I partied with him one night, but I don't know. But yeah.
You probably have. He used to do a show called
who was he really good friends with?
He did a show on Fox Sports where he would travel to college shows around the country, college towns around the country for football weekend. He did like the first show ever for that.
Who was he really good friends with? Was it you? And that's who I met him through?
Yeah, it could have been.
Okay,
yeah. He's one of my best friends.
Yeah.
So, anyway, Tim was going to come pick me up in Pittsburgh because he lived there, right? So, we get to Pittsburgh. We're at a Walmart or something in the middle of the night. This one, Walmart didn't stay open 24 hours.
Yeah.
And I asked the driver, I'm like, well, look, man, this is my last hurrah. I can't be associated with this shit anymore. I'm out, too. I'm like, can you do just a thing for me, a big salute? Like, because a ship, sometimes will do a big circle whenever somebody dies or something. It's like a salute they do and pull the horn or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm like, can you do that for me around this parking lot? He's like, sure, man, I'll do it for you, you know? So he literally dropped me off at this parking lot in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania in the middle of the night. I'm waiting for Tim to come meet me. This bus is doing a big circle around me in the parking lot, right? Well, this fucking kid who hasn't slept in 3 days cuts it too close. And Hair of the Dog, the energy drink, had given us this trailer that you pull behind the bus that's full of energy drink, right? So this dude is doing this in this parking lot. He cuts it too close to turn. The trailer fucking jackknifes a little, bites into the back of the bus, like the edge of the trailer.
Shit.
Yeah, the thing is too long, the hitch.
Yeah.
Swings around and literally bites a chunk. Had to be $60,000 worth of damage into the edge of this bus, right?
Oh.
And I just remember the bus pulling off in the distance, and I can see someone peeking out of the hole that was created by this huge bite that the trailer
it's like
took
the
out.
Titanic.
Yeah, like, and just like, oh, that's going to cost them.